Hello and welcome back. Once again, this is Roach, and we've got just a fair bit in store for you today, and it's all to do with these shulker boxes right behind me. So let's take a look at what's inside and see if we can't figure out what's going on. Now, if you'll notice, we've actually got similar colors to the other boat, and that's because we're actually building one. And it's going to be a whole lot bigger than the boat that we built last time. In fact, the other boat was just a tugboat. I don't remember if I had mentioned it or not, but the tugboat was basically just to bring a much larger boat from the ocean, deep ocean, into more narrow areas. And so we're going to have a big rope, probably a metal one, and then a much, much larger boat built out here. I want it to be a cargo boat or something of that nature with a bunch of cargo ships on, or cargo shipping containers rather, on top. Now, how is this going to look? Well, we've done a little bit of testing in the creative world, so I think as long as I can use the schematics well, it should look half decent. So let's go through with a time lapse and see how things go. And just like that, we got a boat. Now, again, it's not a perfect boat. I still need to have a little rope going from here to here because this is functionally acting as a tugboat sort of a thing. Also, I have unwittingly made this Christmas themed. Don't exactly know how I managed that. I guess it was just those were the colors that I had. But here we are. Now, if you'll notice, this looks a little bit different than the time lapse, and that's because I thought this looked a little bit better with this border. Also, I thought it was just a little bit too much, just one shade of white. So I went ahead and added a little bit of texture here. Maybe I should add some walls of some kind as well. Not 100% sure. But I also made it to where this went up just a little ways. Of course, have a little bit of texture down here. I have yet to go to the nether um to get soul sand, but once I do that, I'm actually going to be putting soul sand once again all throughout here to just add to these bubbles and the sound effects, and even back behind back behind this, and back behind this boat here. I just want it to be moving a little bit. Now, I also probably will slowly add on to this, make these probably 3 stories high. These, of course, are the shipping containers. And then maybe I will redo this, because I want this to be stacks of something, but I might just fill this all the way with shipping containers, because that's functionally the way uh, the way cargo ships deal with things. They just pack them full, top to bottom. Now, there's nothing going on in here. I don't think I'm going to make anything go on in here. I might make farms in here, but I kind of like the idea of just having my all of my farms, every single one of them over here. Perhaps even eventually making a little base up above, just with toggleable switches and that sort of a thing. That way I can turn things off when I don't need it. As a very good example of a farm that I wish I could turn off easily right now is this one right here. See, it doesn't look like I have a lot, but again, we are kind of getting out of control with the gunpowder, and I've been using a lot of my sand on sandstone for this build because I am slowly working on it, but this is all gunpowder. So I need to figure something else out with that, an automatic bulk storage, something like that. I also need to make this go a whole lot farther up, and I think that I actually do want to go all the way to the very top. I believe just one side should be enough. I might even, you know what, maybe I could. I wanted to make this a flying machine farm, but I couldn't actually find any slime blocks. I'm sure there's somewhere around here. In fact, I looked it up. I thought there was one right here, but I cleared out a little space down below and didn't get any spawning. So I think I might have done that wrong somehow. But if I can make this a flying machine farm, get all of the wood I could ever need for chests, that sort of a thing. That way, that wood I could just use for, well, what I really think it's intended to be used for, which is just decoration. Of course, once again, we've got all of our sandstone. And so, with that sandstone, I am slowly but surely expanding all of this. This is a little bit tricky on the edge here, just because of how close I made this farm to the edge. But I think I think it'll work just fine. And then once I do that, this will end up going up and over, of course. But I think to finish out this episode, I actually want to finish out over here. Because this has, well, this has taken far too long for me to finish. I'm not super happy with this. This will probably eventually end up getting torn down. But for now, it works. It works in the interim. But I would like to make this somewhat terraformed, somewhat buildable, kind of like when you're doing site work on a construction site. You build all of the functionally the infrastructure first. You build the road to the site. You build the pads, where you're going to build the houses, and and I would like to do that all the way around here. Exactly how that's going to happen, again, I'm not 100% sure. I would like this top bit to remain a part of the main house, almost like a garden that's a part of this house. The problem is this grass is atrocious. It's not quite as bad once you get down here, so I might keep some of this grass. As we go down, this is a little plains biome, evidently. But I think we're going to end up having houses over here, two, maybe three, maybe a third one here. This will be a little dead end overlooking this area here, which is again going to have some more houses. And I don't really want them to be super functional. I just want them to look good. And if I can eventually figure out a way to make them functional, that's great. But I don't think it's going to be super easy because the bulk of my materials are all going to be in my industrial district over here. But I truly do think this is where I want to be going, at least for the rest of this episode, the last 5 or 10 minutes or so, is truly just clearing out what I want, clearing out the area that I'm going to be building different buildings and figure out how big I want these buildings. Again, I think this is going to end up all getting torn down. It just looks tacky, maybe, but I'm not sure. We will eventually, and I truly do mean eventually, get to that. It will be quite a while. Now, exactly what I'm going to do with this area, I really don't know. So if you have any recommendations or ideas, I would absolutely love that. But let's go ahead and get started on some of this terraforming, and hopefully the vision will start to come alive. Now, as you saw, we did a fair bit of work on the outside. Of course, I didn't finish it completely because I kind of wanted to walk through and show you exactly what I was thinking. You'll notice I did some more terraforming on the edge. I wanted it to almost look decrepit, which means I think eventually this is all going to end up changing to facilitate this style. Of course, this has done me well. I've got almost all of my stuff in there, but I think eventually it's going to need to be changed. It doesn't quite fit this style, and I think this is going to be the style that I go about using for the rest of the build. Of course, I wanted puddles. I want it to seem like this hasn't been maintained in a long time. Every time it rains, it makes little puddles in the walkway. I wanted it to be falling apart on the edges, and I think I've done a fairly decent job doing that. I wish all of the grass here could be this color, because then I would put the grass here, but unfortunately it's that ugly yellow color. Don't really like it, so I'll have to figure out something different here. But now as we go down, eventually this is also going to branch off and go that way. There's that ugly yellow grass once again that I'll have to change. But in the meantime, I wanted to do this place over here. And you see I've started to make the foundation, but I'll talk about that in just a second. Instead, I also wanted to talk about these and the use of materials. See, I wanted everything to kind of make sense. It would make sense for a pathway that's been neglected to have moss, but I want the moss to make sense where it's growing up. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for there to just be one patch in the middle, but now if there's water, you can have the patch because that's what it feeds off of. You can't really see, but there is moss in there. I really should put lichen in a lot of these places just to add a little bit of ambiance. I have added some lighting underneath there just so I could have some light during the night. And then of course we've got a little pond here. I'd like a little pond here with a waterfall going into something else over here. Once again, it's all going to be this general style, I believe. Just generally not very well kept up. And I think this I'm actually going to push it towards... What is that green? Oh, well, I'm going to push it towards this wall inside and maybe even make it as if it's been carved from the mountain. That's going to make a lot of work, but I think it's going to look cool. And then I'll continue adding these down. Of course, once again, moss growing slowly up the light poles as well until we get over here. And I think this is going to be once again some more houses. Now I haven't decided where exactly I want this to look, where I intend for it to be looked at from. I do want it to look good from the outside, but I think so I want it to look decent from over here. But I definitely think I want the majority of how this is looking to be walked, or even riding a horse. So I want this all to be walkable, and I want there to be basically something to look at wherever you go. So I think this is once again going to end up becoming almost abandoned. Maybe not quite abandoned, more like not well maintained. And it's going to continue all the way. And I think I want this to almost be the old part of town, and then eventually, or perhaps the less wealthy town, and then I want this to be connected up over here. And I know I originally said I wanted the docks to be there, and I think I will put a couple of docks here, but nothing super extensive. I believe I'm going to put all of that over here. And the reason for that being, I want this to basically be the better looking city, the newer, and that sort of thing. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But I do want these all to be connected in some way. Maybe even the opposite. Maybe even I want there to be some reason that they aren't connected, that they aren't working with each other. Perhaps there's some reason that this one has been isolated. But that's going to be a future project. In the meantime, I think that's just about all the time that I have today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. If you didn't, well, please let me know what I can do better. Even if you did like it, let me know what I can do better. Thank you again for watching. This is Roach. I'll see you again next time. Bye.